Shalom Chavrim, I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live. Very serious things going on in Idlib, friends. And as we are watching the situation on the ground unfold there inside of Syria, this is something that could easily spiral out of control. I want to bring you guys up to date again and also apologize for being late. We had put together a broadcast over on Danun Institute there. And that just finished loading, and I couldn't run live and switch channels without that finishing. And for some reason, it didn't want to load at first. I think that for those of you that like the teaching, it will no doubt really be a blessing to you. Getting into this situation, though, no ground attack by Syrian regime and observation posts will never withdraw. Turkish military base for dignitaries of Idlib and Hama. This is something that the Turkish military is doing. They have moved in their air defense systems into northern Syria, in the northern part of Idlib. Very dangerous situation, something that is escalating very rapidly. And they are vowing that if the Syrian government doesn't stop bombing in Idlib, Syria, their own country, trying to knock out these terrorists that have overtaken this whole region, that they will begin to start taking down Syrian planes. Now, Russia has held back in actually bombing Idlib itself as they were working with Turkey to try to do some negotiations there. But now even the Russian Federation has stepped up their bombing campaign this evening. Also, though, the Russian Federation, on the embassy's Russian Federation website of the United Kingdom, they posted this here. So the question was asked, how would you comment on the statement by the UK government on its intention to provide assistance for Idlib province in Syria? Well, the answer, they said, is we monitor closely the modalities of the UK assistance in Syria. What are the objectives and who are its recipients? The official British statement issued today indicates that the assistance will be provided to Idlib province. Moreover, according to the statement, around 3 million civilians have sought shelter in this area, while many have already been displaced multiple times. Idlib province in northwest Syria is well known as a den of extremists and terrorists, above all al-Nusra Front and ISIL, both of them unrecognized terrorist organizations. The area has accommodated tens of thousands of most irreconcilable jihadists who are launching daily attacks against the positions of the Syrian army and the Russian Khamenei base, as well as fighting each other, forcing civilians to flee. The fact that the conservative UK government is such a rush to spend British taxpayers' money on this particular part of the country is symptomatic. At the same time, the UK persists in its refusal to participate in the providing humanitarian aid to all of Syria and those refugees who are returning to their homes. Now, that kind of just goes to show you, though, that the UK, much like President Donald Trump, has been doing nothing but supplying terrorists in the region and have not done anything to actually help the real Syrian people. That's a bit odd, don't you think? But it also lets me know, too, that this whole charade about Turkey and the United States and the threat of sanctions, that's all a charade as well. None of this is really happening. We're only made to believe that Turkey and the United States are at odds with one another. Believe me, they're there protecting one another and preparing for an all-out battle. Well, for that matter, Russia may be playing their part as well, because, after all, a new world order has to ensue. In order to bring about a new world order, all of us as human beings on the earth have to be duped into believing, well, just whatever they want you to believe. And at the end of the day, when the dust settles, we'll wake up to most horrendous reality of a new world order. You know, I was thinking just recently, my wife shared with me a video where President Donald Trump was singing the praises of a digital age where they use biometrics. And you know what's funny is how many ministers only a couple of years ago were saying how that the biometric system, the face recognition, eye recognition, the software that would be used would be part of a beast system. But yet the same multi-millionaire ministers and all this are right there on the stump with Donald Trump as he rolls out what they were calling 2 years ago the beast system. I'm really amazed at how duped the people can be as well. Moving on, just to show you some more things going on with Idlib here. Russian Air Force continues to soften terrorist strongholds as the Syrian Arab Army prepares their long-awaited offensive around the Idlib. And this here is showing one of Russia's bombers there dropping bombs on the southern part of the Idlib province there. It's also being reported by Amman News as well that Russia has started that campaign to liberate Idlib, joining the Syrian Arab Army in a defiant show of force against the Turkish government. And in the map here, as you can see, let me kind of blow this up for you guys so we can see exactly what they're showing that's going on here on the ground. And let's see. I don't know how well, it doesn't look like we can really, doesn't look like we're going to be able to show that very well. Anyway, up here, and this is the Idlib province right here. Remember, Aleppo was a huge battle before. This is where the U.S. and the propaganda machine made the documentary called The Last Man Standing in Aleppo there. That was done by the U.S.'s White Helmets. Turkish forces in this little panhandle, you have the Mediterranean right here that runs right here, but the Turkish forces moved in their air defense system. 14 vehicle convoy came across the line there. There's shelling going on down here in the south, and of course the Russian and Syrian troops have been bombing all down here in the south. The Syrian government also has been running a drone overhead, surveilling the area to see just what they're up against. And believe me, they are up against a major wall of force, and of course a heavily armed force at that. I also want to show you here the brand new weapons that Saudi Arabia gave the rebels, in which the Syrian army seized in Dada will be used to fight the same terrorists allied to Al-Qaeda in Idlib. This is that huge stockpile of weapons that the Saudis sent. Much of that coming from, of course, the United States originally, but now in the hands of the Russians and in the Syrians to use these weapons against those very jihadists they were intended for to start with, to use against the Syrian military. Very interesting to see how this is all going to play out, guys. But also, again, the White Helmets, this is what's kind of funny here. This is the White Helmets a couple of years ago when Idlib was overtaken by al-Nusra. And you can see the White Helmets right here. This man right here, he's got his white helmet hat on. There's another guy over the side. He's flying the ISIS flag back and forth. They're celebrating the victory of the fall of Idlib, all right? Now, the thing is they're all in jubilation there, and this is the very pro-civil defense team that the United States backs. I don't know why they call them the White Helmets. They should call them the dark, shadowy helmets, and maybe some other name. But of course, now they are doing their rescue operations. And as the man that posted this, he said, when you go to see the victims that they're rescuing here, this particular time, he says they're not all dusty. They're not using the dust this time to cover them up. They look nice and clean, and it's like, gosh, how did they get them in the rubble to begin with like that? You'd think you'd pull him out of the rubble. I guess they forgot. Maybe they forgot to do that. Notice how they have all their white helmets and uniform and stuff now. They're really trying to make a statement, aren't they? The advertisement propaganda machine is in high gear. I can only imagine it won't be long before, though, they start using the sarin gas or the chlorine gas once again. Whatever it's going to take to be able to justify. Look how clean that little child's hair is and stuff. Wow. She was really in the rubble? You got to be kidding me. How many families that are loyal to the Syrian government did they put their kids in this rubble for just to be able to make some videos? Propaganda just never ceases. I'm Stephen Ben-Nun. You're watching Israeli News Live. Be sure to support the broadcast, IsraeliNewsLive.org. We appreciate your support in keeping the broadcast going. As well, check out Patreon. We just loaded a video over there yesterday. Second one from last week there. We'll be loading a couple of more this week coming up. We're going to try to do actually 3 different ones. We have different things that we're working on that we want to share with you. and to get the message out. Also, again, Dunoon Institute, I think an incredible new insight that God revealed to me yesterday that I finally was able to put into video format for Dunoon Institute. It will be a blessing. It is an eye-opener. Completely new insight there when it comes to who the Messiah is and that identity of the Messiah in Scripture. Very simple, that we've overlooked. I'm Stephen Benoon with Israeli News Live, Erev Tov.